Morena, kia ora koutou katoa, no mai, haere mai. Good morning, hello to you all, and welcome. Welcome to our Nuralite Carbon Zero Journey webinar. I'd like to start with a quick poll, actually, just to let us know where you are with your Carbon Zero journey. So wish me luck. I'll try and get this out. Actually, this poll is the first one for what time and day would you like your webinar? So I'll just flick that one out quickly. Thanks for that. Well, we've almost got a full house here. It's quite great, quite good to see. So thanks for that. Right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Shane Clark. I'm the general manager here at Nuralite. Nuralite's been synonymous with flat roofing membranes supply products for the last 50 years. We're always evolving and innovating with ways to build New Zealand better. And this morning, I'm pleased to introduce the elusive Mr. John Simmons, who's the owner and managing director of Nuralite, who's going to spend 20 minutes with you sharing our sustainability journey, which has started with net carbon zero. Yes, it started with net carbon zero and what we hope to achieve going forward in our world of sustainability and environmental awareness. There may even be a challenge thrown down to you all along the way, so listen out. Also stoked to advise everyone today that Nuralite will contribute $10 towards an organisation close to our hearts called Trees That Count. Trees That Count are a conservation charity that make a difference by planting native New Zealand trees throughout the country. Since 2016, this organisation, along with their community, have planted over 31 million native trees, which will be responsible for removing approximately 3.5 million tonnes of carbon from our atmosphere. So well done to them. And congratulations to you all. By simply attending this morning, you've already done your part to make the world a better place. The last few minutes of the webinar will open up to a brief Q&A. I encourage you all to participate into any questions you may have on the Q&A feature at the bottom of the menu bar. And I'll get through these as best I can towards the end. Right, enough from me. Are you there, John?
Yeah, thanks, Shane. Welcome, everyone. It's really exciting to be able to share with you our journey. I've got a few slides, so I'll just bring those up. All right. So about 2 years ago, obviously, climate change has been a huge challenge for all of us. And about 2 years ago, we really felt, or I felt personally, that Nuralite needed to be doing more to move us along and to confront the challenge. We were, like most companies, sitting there waiting for something to happen, waiting to be told what to do, waiting for goals to be set. And we resolved that actually we need to do something. So the very first step on our challenge was 18 months ago coming to creating a resolution, and one of these resolutions we actually did something about was that we must do something even if no one else does anything. And that was actually challenging ourselves to get going because up to that stage we were waiting for someone else to tell us what to do. And I think it's up to everyone to challenge themselves about what can they do to make a difference rather than waiting for someone else to set goals. Particularly one of the things that kind of concerns me is we talk about we need to be net carbon zero by 2050, which is a goal that's miles away and really encourages you to do nothing. And so we were really wanting to go to ourselves, to Nuralite, what can we do to move the dial today? Now, it wasn't easy to figure out what to do. And so we did quite a bit of reading. And what I really found attractive was this 1.5 degree business playbook, which was published as a guide for businesses who are wanting to move the dial. And there are other guides around, but this one was really clear for me. And we did this, this guide in conjunction with working with Toitu, who gave us the insights to actually drive things at a much more micro level. But this guide here, which I'll take you through today, really gave me a sense of purpose and gave the business a sense of purpose of what we can do to make a difference. And we'll also show you about how it kind of leverages so that you actually make bigger changes outside the business rather than actually necessarily just inside the businesses. So as you can see, it's a 4-step plan. Once you've completed the first 2 steps, you're carbon zero. But actually, step 3 and 4 is actually where you can possibly make even bigger differences than being carbon zero. Okay, the first step was actually looking at our own fossil fuels. That's actually relatively simple because you can figure out where you buy fossil fuels, where you buy your gas and where you buy your fuel. And having a look at that and going, what can we do about it? Obviously, with petrol, you have to move to electric vehicles. And with gas, it was moving to electric forklifts. We're not 100% there yet, but it is a journey that we're moving. And we've currently got 6 electric vehicles and 1 electric forklift. I would like to think that we will get to 100%, not too far away, but we have to, you have to manage that transition so that people have appropriate vehicles. So far, we've invested $200,000 in that transition, which is a significant investment. But what you do find when you actually look at the numbers is that these have a payback period that is actually quite attractive, because once we've moved to electric vehicles, obviously our petrol bills have been slashed, disappeared, but also our maintenance costs have been disappeared. So it's confronting to actually have to make that investment, and it's confronting for some of our employees. But actually, once you make that step, you actually find it's quite nice. I actually quite smug when I drive past petrol companies now. Okay, the second part of it was looking at our supply chain. So for us, we're looking to go carbon zero from the manufacturer site to the job site. We're trying to eliminate as much as possible our carbon footprint during that point. So we have gone and we've talked to our suppliers and told them about our journey, much like we're doing today with you. And we've also analysed our supply chain. So for example, one of our suppliers has invested in solar panels because that was a large part of their carbon footprint was in electricity. A huge part of our carbon footprint is in freight. And so how can we reduce our freight? There's a few things, but the big game changer for us was actually setting our warehouse up in Christchurch, so that when we were shipping product from Europe, it was going directly to the warehouse in Christchurch and not using any road freight between Auckland and Christchurch or Auckland and the South Island. And that has reduced our carbon footprint for road freight by 15%. Being really aware of air freight, which has a huge carbon footprint, has actually changed the way we do business. So we carry more stock here in New Zealand so that we don't have to go in and use air freight if we're getting low on stock. There are other things that we've done around renewable power supplies. So we've swapped power supply to 100% renewable. And also we're looking at the Carbon Zero website and picking suppliers who are carbon zero, because if they're carbon zero, automatically we're getting the carbon zero benefit from there. So that's actually kind of creating an ecosystem of companies who are all invested in it. So for example, we use Urgent Couriers now, who are a carbon zero company. Again, our investment so far, $100,000 with regard to the warehouse in Christchurch and a few other things. But again, when you do the benefit analysis, that actually has a payback of relatively quick time, because we will be doing less road freight. So it's challenged our thinking, but it doesn't actually need to be a financially negative thing. Once we've done it, all we can to mitigate the carbon footprint of our factory to our customer base. Are you still seeing that screen? I've lost it.
Just lost your PowerPoint there, John.
There we go. Is that all right?
Nope, hasn't popped up just yet.
Sorry. Sorry about that. Share the screen again. What do you see now?
Just pop to present mode. There we go. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Sorry about that. So once we've slashed our footprint within the our own company, then we've looked at our supply chain, trying to mitigate what we're using there and trying to find smarter ways to do our business. We then have to offset the carbon that is still being used within that supply chain. It's kind of a controversial thing for a lot of people. I know I've talked to people who say, oh, you just go carbon zero, you just buy carbon offsets. For me, that's totally the wrong way to think about it. It's actually, I see it as a tax that we're trying to actually eliminate. We're wanting to get our carbon footprint as low as we can, so we pay the minimum amount of tax. So we're paying this carbon tax for the non-avoided carbon pollution. So for me, it's a bad thing to have to pay a carbon offset, but it is something that actually creates us a carbon zero footprint in the end. These are done with quality projects through Toitu. We've gone for a mixture of forestry ones, so they're actually planting for the long term, that will actually sequester carbon. And then there was other ones where your the international ones where the carbon has been reduced. So it's, for example, it might be a diesel generator and you're actually helping to pay out for solar panels. So you actually got a quantifiable, real reduction in carbon as a result. So once we've gone through that, we've gone through step 1, step 2, and we've done the carbon offset, we can then declare ourselves carbon zero through Toitu. We're really proud of it. When we look through, we're the first company in the construction product sector to have done that. There's lots of other schemes around, but for us, this is a really clear statement of what we've done and what our intention is. And it's from the factory to the building site. So there's also a bit of confusion. Does it say our products are carbon zero? Not claiming that. What we're saying is in our supply chain, it's carbon zero. And for those who want, there's a link there. We'll provide this presentation to everyone at the end, but that link takes you through to the full detailed Toitu document that sets everything out. Okay.
Ooh, I've just had one burning question pop up here, John. If I can interrupt you here.
Yep.
What's the feedback from your staff, and what have you done to bring them along on the journey?
Well, actually, the staff have, in a large place, challenged us, because when we first started this, the feedback was so strong that we couldn't actually go back. It was really clear that it was a desirable thing for the company, for buy-in. Younger members of the staff were very excited, but we even had members of the island community who actually took it as something that was going to benefit them, their whole community. So yeah, once we started the discussion, there was no going back, just because the staff were so committed, and it really built the Nuralite brand for them. We've also gone and done some kind of smaller things, but also along the same lines of building staff engagement. So for example, we gave an incentive of $500 per employee for doing low carbon transportation. So for example, buying hop cards or buying scooters to get to work, so that the people who aren't using company electric cars can still find a way to commute to work in a cost-effective, environmentally friendly way.
Cool.
Hope that answers you, Shane. But we'll,
yeah.
Okay. Step 3. This actually, I think step 3 is really most interesting step as well. Step 1 and 2 is kind of nitty-gritty, trying to figure out what your carbon costs are and carbon footprint is, and mitigating, measuring and managing. Step 3 though is actually you're starting to think about how can what we do influence how others behave, how our products influence people, and looking at what you're doing. So, you know, I've read about engineering businesses who figure that they can actually make the biggest difference through step 3 by changing the way they're doing their buildings, or really emphasizing or pushing their customers to challenging them to build more eco-friendly buildings. For us, step 3 is looking about our product selection and how they're being used, and really emphasizing trying to push our specifiers and our building owners to build closer to net zero buildings, build much more efficient buildings. The only real way to do that is doing a warm roof system, because if you're doing a cold roof, you're actually allowing all your hot air to escape, which is just nonsensical in today's society. Why would we even be doing that? And so for us, we actually need to challenge everyone to say, actually, what you're doing is wrong. We need to actually start raising our bar and do better for today and for the future. We're also doing other things with regards to publishing a design guide that demonstrates ways to comply, for example, with architects declare. So how do you go about reusing a building rather than stripping it down and throwing all the materials away, which is totally wasteful? How can we upgrade buildings? I saw recently Green Building Council published a press release saying that we upgraded 1,200 the biggest commercial buildings, we would actually save the entire wind generation capacity in New Zealand. And so for me, it's like, well, how do we actually get people to build on the existing buildings so that they're net zero energy as well? Which is, it's actually exciting. It gets us out of bed in the morning. What can we do to do that? We can also talk about green roofs, solar production, and how flat roofs create more livable space. So those are, but for us, the really key thing we're pushing is the warm roof and trying to get net zero energy roofs. So buildings that actually aren't consuming energy. So I'll just take you down. For those who don't know what a zero energy roof is, I'll just take you quickly through it. Zero energy roof is where you're actually putting the insulation outside the building envelope, and you could call it a perfect roof. It's about actually no thermal bridging and having the insulation at a level that is well above New Zealand's building code, because New Zealand's building code is pitifully small, to be blunt. But getting it so that we've got enough insulation on the building so that we're not actually wasting energy heating it or cooling it. I'll just show you a quick slide. This slide's been inspired by Sang architects who are doing work in the passive house area. And as you can see, they've got a number of criteria when you're looking to build a passive house. Weather tightness, air tightness, insulation, thermal bridging, vapor control, and cost. And actually, when you look at all of those, we don't have time to go through them all today, and we can actually happily drill down and do a whole presentation on this. But when you look at all those, a warm roof is superior on every single criteria. And so for us, it's about how do we get our customers, our specifiers, to just by default specify a warm roof, particularly when it can be done in a cost-effective way that's better than the old way. So that's going to be our biggest challenge this year, is we've done the stuff to reduce our carbon footprint. Now, how do we help our customers reduce their customers' carbon footprint? Okay, once you've done that, once you've looked at those 6 criteria, you have to ask yourself, why would you do it the old way? This just makes no sense. Okay, step 4 on the carbon zero roadmap is how do we support other companies who are doing good work in this area? How do we use our voice, like we're doing today, to encourage others to go the same way and to point people in the direction of those who are kind of leading the way? So for example, you've got Toitu, who have got a group, a community of companies who are all doing the net zero energy thing. New Zealand Green Building Council and Toitu have published a net zero carbon roadmap. And so for us, it's like, well, how can we, change our processes so that we're building buildings that are going to head towards a net carbon zero? And how do we use our influence, or whatever influence we can, to get the net carbon zero roadmap implemented? Even this week, we've actually put out a press release highlighting our commitment to net carbon zero roadmap, and just along the same lines of these commercial buildings, getting commercial buildings upgraded as one of the key initiatives that the government could do post this pandemic crisis to invigorate the community and do it in a way that's going to benefit the future generations. Okay, so our challenge to you is what measurable actions are you taking that reduce carbon pollution in your value chain? Our challenge to you is to go, are we just playing lip service? Are we joining schemes and doing a lot of talk? Or are we actually going out and reducing carbon ourselves? You know, like an example is we've been to, with our electric vehicles, to architect practices who are very sustainable, but they have no charging points for electric vehicles. And you have to ask, well, are they walking the walk or are they talking the talk? You know, so our challenge for you is it's 2020. The clock is definitely ticking on carbon. We have to eliminate it, and we can't wait for others to do it. We all have to do it ourselves. Yeah. So I'm John Simmons. I've taken 18 minutes, so that's my budget. Sorry if it was a wee bit rushed, but I really want to A, get through the content, and B, have a chance for anyone to throw it to the floor if anyone's got any questions.
Yeah, no, that's good, John, and it's good to respect everyone's time commitments too. Everyone's got you know, things to do, and they're busy people. I do have a few questions that have come in, and I've actually tried to and combine them up, which is good. So I sort of combined this up. What are the next steps for Nuralite? And to mix in the other question is, have we audited the carbon cost of our products, etc.? Talking about embodied carbon. Okay.
So so two questions. So the first question is around the next steps for us. I think a big part is looking at the construction waste and the how do we minimize construction waste, and how do we take any excess and put it into the product chain, should we say. What do we find a good use for example, the insulation offcuts, so that they're not just being put into the skip, which is a very common practice. Membrane offcuts and plastic. Currently, our plastic wrappings, we're sending them off to be recycled, and they're put into a business down in the Wairarapa is turning them into new products. So we know what's actually happening, because that's the other thing. We don't want to just send it off to a recycler and hope for the best. We actually want to figure out, okay, what can we do with this product? How can it be used in a productive way? And then actually encourage our customers to bring it back so that we can put it into that chain. That's a big one. And then the other big one is what we've talked about with step 3, which is really, really putting pressure on our customers to talk to their customers and build buildings at a much higher quality that's built for the future, rather than necessarily worrying about what have I done in the past. Yep. Let's say. The other question around the carbon of our products. We do have environmental product declarations for the insulation and our membrane. They're quite deep and complex, and I actually find it quite challenging to compare even a double torch-on membrane with a TPO membrane, because they both have one's a plastic and one's a bitumen. They each have their pros and cons. So for us, yeah, our main focus has been actually, let's not spend all our time getting down into nitty-gritty of the carbon component of that, but it's actually about how can we really make measurable steps that slash our carbon. But those environmental product declarations are available on our website. So yeah, anyone can read them if they wish.
Cool. I've still got some questions coming in, which is great. As well as Carbon Zero, John, what other certifying sort of agencies and certificates have we got? And the example that the person has put here is things like Declare or Red List Free. Okay.
On one of our product lines, we have the full Declare. I think it's actually the only waterproofing membrane in literally the world that has the full Declare logo.
Red List Free, yeah.
Red List Free. That's our TPO membrane. I know the torch-on we don't actually have that level of certification. We've had notes from the supplier that it's red list free, but we don't actually have it as a documented certificate on the Declare website. Yeah, those are the main certifications that we've got.
Okay. Hi, Sam. Thanks for your question. Hey, Sam's asked, how widely are we planning to share our learnings?
Well, look,
tell everyone.
Yeah. We've this presentation we've done a couple of times already. I'm more than happy to go and give it to anyone or everyone, because for me, actually, although we had a wee bit of product commentary in there for our specifier community here today, but actually we've actually got a number of people who aren't even in the architectural profession here. I think it's talking about I'm trying to get across is, hey, we all have to start. We have to start today. If we think about the roadmap to get from here to zero in 2050, we can't all do it in 2049. The biggest difference that we can make is making differences today, because even from our experience, if we look at once we've cut out the petrol by going 100% electric, how do we make the next move? It actually gets harder and harder to reduce your carbon footprint. And so we should be taking the low-hanging fruit and the easy stuff. And I just see in looking in New Zealand, and you see these businesses that do have big carbon footprints, and they could make movement today, and they're talking about doing it over the next 10, 20 years. And it's like, we need to do it today. We can't wait, because once you've done those ones, it's actually the next ones are going to be the harder ones to attack. We can't be doing that in 2040. It's too far away. So one of the things I'm trying to encourage people is we have to do it today. I know there's a pandemic on, which is a strange thing to kind of have after the start. But for me, actually, the pandemic, if we put aside the personal costs and look at it more at a macro thing, it's illustrative for us about what we have to do. The government's motto was to go fast and go hard. When it comes to carbon, I think our model is to go slow and to go softly. I don't understand it. It's still an emergency. It's a bigger emergency, but it's not an immediate emergency. And so for us, yeah, come back to your question. I'm happy to have this conversation with everyone and anyone except climate deniers, because I have no time for them. I don't have time to convince people that this is a thing, because it's a thing.
Yeah. Oh, cool. We've got about 1 minute to go, John. We've got room for one more question. Sorry we weren't able to get through them all. Do you think that overall that there's a financial benefit to the process, or is it simply just an additional cost to doing business?
When we signed up with Toitu, the account manager actually said to me that people tend to find at the end of the day that they're saving money. And I actually thought that was kind of blah, blah. It was salesmanship to try to encourage me. But when you get down to it, you can be saving money, be building better, doing it right. Yeah, so for example, just in the electric cars, it's a big upfront cost. So for example, we're buying secondhand Leafs 2017 at about $40,000. That's a big commitment. We used to spend 20 grand a car, so we're spending 20 grand more than we normally would. But you're saving, well over 5 grand, 5 to 10 grand a year in running costs. And so the payback's quite quick. So when you actually put on it through that lens, it does make sense. It's just being compelled to do something rather than sticking with the status quo. So yeah, I mean, I watched the Green Building Council presentation yesterday, which was really good, and I love the kind of talk about old thinking and new thinking, and how this kind of pandemic has confronted us and made us move to new thinking and stuff like going, well, yeah, okay, I'm going to spend 20 grand and buy a petrol car, or 40 grand and buy an electric car. We should be buying a 40 grand electric car.
No, that's good, John. We've done our time, so I'm just going to flick out this last poll, hopefully. No, that's all. Here we go. This is just a quick poll that asks where you guys are at personally with your carbon zero journey. We've sort of shown you ours. We'd like to see, you know, where you guys are at. So by all means, fill in that poll. That would be fantastic. And we'll leave you on that. So thank you again, everyone, for your attendance. Yeah, quite a number of people in attendance, which was very humbling. We've got a lot of trees to buy, John.
Happy problem.
Yeah, all right. Thanks very much, everyone. Remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Thanks very much.
Thank you.